Officer on the scene was Officer Holzenbach, who also refused to look at the videotape. Holzenbach is one of the regulars working the white lines on Watterson Street. Scientology pays the officers $21 an hour for a total of $178 per day. Holzenbach's total pay for the first 8 months of the year 2000 was $2,848. It wasn't until a sergeant arrived on the scene that anyone took a look at this videotape. The sergeant ordered Officer Kelly to do an investigation, yet Officer Kelly refused to even ask this man for an ID. If he had, he would have discovered that on this day Richard Bernard gave the police a phony name, a phony birth date, and a phony social security number. It was only later discovered that Richard Bernard had skipped bail on a cocaine trafficking charge. He is now serving a 1-year prison sentence in Key West.
One of the issues that's come up in Clearwater has to do with peacefully protesting. There are people who want to protest Scientology's abuse and deception by picketing.
Scientology reacts very aggressively toward any form of criticism. L. Ron Hubbard's policy was always attack, never defend. In 1967, L. Ron Hubbard wrote that anyone who criticizes Scientology is a criminal.
What are your crimes against not only Scientology, but what are your crimes against humanity? I'd like to know.
Hubbard declared any enemy an SP, or suppressive person. In his fair game policy, Hubbard wrote that an SP may be deprived of property or injured by any means by any Scientologist, may be tricked, sued, or lied to, or destroyed.
I don't think before in the history of this country has an organization struck back at critics in a fashion Scientology has. How do you cope with someone trying to see that you get fired or ruin your credit or follow you day and night or kill your animals?
This is Scientology's enemies list. 47 pages and thousands of names of organizations and individuals that Scientology has labeled its enemies. Right near the top of this list, Scientology certainly has placed the chairman of the board of the Lisa McPherson Trust, Bob Minton. One night in July, the Clearwater Police watched as dozens of Scientologists surrounded Bob Minton and tried to provoke an incident.
I never saw such outrageous conduct in my life. They called Mr. Minton virtually every name that could possibly be conceived. They got in his face, impeded him, and the police stood there and watched and did nothing.
The police have just stood by while these protesters have been assaulted by Scientologists. The police have been absolutely unwilling to do anything to protect the protesters.
Scientologists are trying to provoke an incident. Here a shoving match is caught on camera. The Scientologist in the plaid shirt has to be restrained by Scientology security personnel. This footage was shot by Jeff Jacobson, who works for the Lisa McPherson Trust. I came onto the scene shortly afterwards and caught this on tape. Another Scientologist gives some advice. Let them go to you.
Let them do it to you.
If we respond in anger and lash back, the Scientologist hope will get arrested. That way they can prove that L. Ron Hubbard was right when he said that anyone who criticizes Scientology is a criminal.
You're standing on the road, buddy.
Let's go back 2 days earlier to a different picket. This is Scientologist Dennis Clark, who's going to try to provoke me. Looks innocent, but take a look from another angle. He steps on my foot and jabs me with his elbow. Let's look at it again, slowed down. Dennis Clark checks over his shoulder to see if anyone's looking. He steps on my foot and jabs me. Moments later, he tries the same thing with a second cameraman and gets a bigger reaction.
Excuse me.
Hey, don't you fucking push me, man.
Excuse me, man. You had your elbow right out there. That was nice.
We have that from a second angle, too.
Excuse me.
Hey, don't you fucking push me, man.
Excuse me, man. You had your elbow right out there. I was bullied and grabbed by Dennis Clark. Left a little scratch on my left hand, or left arm. 2 days after that, I was again present, this time at the press conference at the Lisa McPherson Trust. There was someone lurking in the parking garage. So I went up there with another person following me and got got up to the third floor and opened the door, and who did I see but Dennis Clark, lurking in the parking garage and spying on the people coming and going there.
You doing all right today?
He suddenly got up and elbowed me as he went by and went down the stairwell. He decided to turn around and come up and accuse me of harassing him.
No, not at all.
Get it out of my face. Get it out of my face now. Get it out of my face. Get it out of my face.
Excuse me.
Get the fuck
Okay, it's out of your face.
Get out of my face and stop harassing me. You got it? You got it? Get out of my
You want
face.
to try that one more time?
Just who is Dennis Clark? Well, he's the head of the CCHR, the Citizens Commission on Human Rights. That's a Scientology front group set up to attack psychiatry. This human rights leader seems to have a lengthy history of antisocial behavior. In 1986, the author of this book, L. Ron Hubbard, Messiah or Madman, reports that Clark came to his office. When the author wasn't there, Clark pointed to the author's assistant and said, "You'll do," and punched him in the face. Let's take a look at a few more of Dennis Clark's greatest hits. Here he is shoving gum on my camera lens.
Please excuse me. I need to go by here.
You going by then, buddy?
Slapping my camera. Going after Jeff.
You want one? Here.
Officer!
And when we complain to the police, this is what happens.
Sir, he just stuck gum in my lens.
You stay with him and a camera, and I'll take the other two.
He just stuck gum in my lens. This big jerk right here.
If we see it, we can do something about it right now.
There it is. See the gum? I got it on video because I'm recording right now.
The big, tall character identified as Dennis Clark jammed me in the ribs with his elbow and knocked the picket sign out of my hand. And then they surrounded me, and before I could pick up the picket sign, it was gone. So I reported to the police that they'd stolen my picket sign, and the police said that if it was hit the ground, it was abandoned.
So, what's happened to Dennis Clark? Well, so far, nothing. Mike Croats filed charges against Clark in the parking structure incident, but mysteriously the paperwork for those charges disappeared inside the Clearwater Police Department. Also mysteriously, shortly afterwards, personal information from that police report was posted anonymously on the internet.
They posted my name, age, where I live, and other personal information, including former employers. I think in an obvious attempt to intimidate me regarding these charges that I had been wanting pressed.
To this date, no action has been taken against Dennis Clark or any of the Scientologists who have been involved in these incidents. What's really frustrating is when the police blame us for the situation. Remember the Scientologist who had to be restrained?
Hi.
Will you please not touch the camera?
You pushed it in my face, asshole.
Uh-huh. Does the phrase, "let them come to you," make any sense to you? Do you remember somebody telling you that at the last picket? I haven't contacted you. Oh, I know. You're trying to hide me.
Well, I went across the street to ask the police to please tell the Scientologists not to touch us or our cameras. Sergeant Quinlan, who's here in the center, told me, "I saw the whole thing. You were blocking the sidewalk. It's your fault." Here's another angle.
Will you please not touch the camera?
You pushed it in my face, asshole.
Uh-huh. Does the phrase, "let them come to you," make any sense to you? Do you remember somebody telling you that at the last picket?
Here I'm gesturing for the police to come over and break this up. Of course, they don't.
The police have become less and less and less willing to protect us. And at this point, I would have to say that I really feel that the police show a prejudice against us.
I have one more piece of footage I'd like to show you. It relates to these off-duty assignment sheets the Clearwater Police signed to work for Scientology. Their assignment reads, quote, "Security for Scientology members entering and exiting buses on Watterson." Yet here in this footage, shot several blocks away from Watterson, you can see the OSA agent walking his off-duty officer to Scientology's Fort Harrison Hotel to monitor Bob Minton. The Clearwater Police Department has become Scientology's police force.
This can be celebrated as the year in which the occupation of Clearwater was completed.
When a person gets a sign knocked out of his hands, it's not abandoned property. When someone swings a hammer at somebody and with the intent to hit him, it's not no harm, no foul. When someone tries to destroy equipment by messing with the lens and cameras, it's not just tit for tat. Do the right thing while you got a chance.